I am baffled. I'm really baffled. Does anybody, I mean, be honest with yourself, does anybody actually have any faith, any confidence, any belief in the people who are running this country? You know, the Prime Minister, the government, the Tories, the Labour Party, the opposition. We've just had the speeches of these two leaders of the Conservative Party, Prime Minister, and the Sir Keir Starmer, the leader of the opposition. And to be honest, if you mashed up the two speeches, I would have no idea who said what, because they just seem to be extremely similar. And years gone past, you would know who were the Tories, most definitely, and who was Labour, almost certainly. But these days, they're sort of singing almost from the same hymn sheet, which means there's no real opposition, just perhaps a few different ideas, but not real opposition. And it's very confusing and I think insulting, really, especially when there is so much information about certain topics which both the members of Parliament, the leaders of Parliament and the mainstream media will not talk about. And yet when I go online, and maybe it's just me, maybe it's the places I search, maybe it's the echo chamber I happen to be in. I mean, it could well be. But there seems to be a myriad of information and questions about things that haven't been going right on so many different subjects. The one that baffles me more than anything else, of course, is about this medical product, this commercial product that was injected into people's arms recently and is still being put into arms, particularly into babies and children who have no fear of the virus that we were told about, and yet they're still being presented. And yet there was Andrew Bridgen. He stood up in the House of Commons, and I know I've mentioned this before, but I'm just so baffled in that he mentioned his concern, which should concern anybody and everybody who's either had the vaccine or thinking of having this vaccine, which I'm not really sure that that's a term that I can call it anymore. To me, it just seems like a commercial medical product, because nobody seems to be able to actually identify what's in it. And some of them seem to be more harmful than others. I think it's the mRNA one that's causing a bit of stick, certainly where I've been looking. Now, I'm not an expert and I don't know whether any of this is true, but I'm just an ordinary layperson going online and I'm almost overwhelmed by the stories of the people on the yellow card system who've been hurt by it, the weird and unexpected numbers of sudden death, the excess deaths that we've had at the moment. It's just so extremely odd. And there is just one big thing that's happened recently that everybody's had to and been mandated or cajoled, persuaded one way or another to take part in. And you think, OK, this is going to affect the medical profession, hospitals, doctors. It really is, because I'm of an age now where, well, you know, things might start falling off, or I might get some strange lumps or bumps, or certain things might not rise to the occasion. And I may want to speak and have a confidential chat with my doctor, or I may fall over and have a terrible gash in a leg and suddenly need to go to hospital and possibly have a blood transfusion. And I just want to know that I can trust the medical profession and the doctors and the hospital and all of that, and that they're not in some strange collusion of silence, because that's what it seems like to me. Now, maybe it isn't. I don't watch the BBC. I don't have a television anymore. I don't have the licence. I got rid of that years ago because I didn't like the bias. But it does seem to me, from the emails I get and the comments that I have and friends and relations telling me about what's on the mainstream media and various things, you know, I'm quite connected now, that there is something very odd happening. And yet the powers that be, the members of Parliament, are not talking about it. And when one person stands up, I think only 6 other people were there, the rest couldn't be bothered to listen to something which is clearly concerning a lot of people. And so it seems to me that people are diving underground and talking about this because they're frightened. And quite rightly so, because it's very strange that the people who want to rule us and tell us what to do, by our consent, by the way, because we put them there, we are sovereign, not them, they just refuse to talk about something which is so obvious and is so out there now, with so many studies and so much evidence being presented, that you would just think they would want to talk about it and address it so that we trust them again. So I ask again, baffled as I am, and I would love to hear from somebody in the comments, please. Do you trust the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition, any of your MPs? Because if you do, could you please tell me why nobody, almost nobody, apart from Andrew Bridgen, is actually talking about this very severe problem which is causing a lot of stress to a lot of people? Thank you.